Okay, we're back in the SQL Sandbox, and we're just going to try and grab all the team level data from the teams table in the layman database after the year 1955, but before the year 2013. 1955, we explained before, they're finally keeping track of sacrificed flies and intentional walks, and it's the post-integration era. 2013 because that's the year we did our first example in this video. And here we go. We're going to hit check. Running, processing. Okay, good. We got results. There are 1,482 rows, team records from 1955 to 2013. And we're going to click here and just download these results so that we can manipulate these data in our studio. We'll do that next. So back to our studio, and what I've done is cleared out the environment here and my console by using Control L so that we have a clean slate as we start this. Now I've got this R script here where I'm going to do some regressions on some of these runs estimators. First thing I want to run through is a couple commands that might be new. The file choose command. Let me go over to my help documentation and put in file.choose to read what this function does. And what this does is actually quite useful. It chooses a file interactively. It goes to the operating system that our studio sits in and chooses a file in one of the working directories of whatever operating system, whatever system the RStudio is working in. So let's run this and see what happens. Remember, we can choose, we can put our cursor on an R command, hit run, and it'll run it for us. So it runs it in the console, and what it does is open a dialog box in my operating system, in my case Mac OS, and it's looking for a file. The file I want to open is from the SQL Sandbox, and it's the 9th download I've done from the SQL Sandbox called the layman_sandbox9. Your file name will be different, but find it and open it, and you're going to have to navigate your system. I've set my working directory, Sandbox and R data files, on my desktop. So I've run the function file choose. It's created a variable file name, and here is the variable file name. It's the directory path that tells me where to find this file. Now I can run the function we're familiar with, which is read CSV, taking the variable f name and putting it into a data frame called teams. Let's run this. We have a new data frame called teams, and this looks good. 1,482 observations, just like we saw in the SQL Sandbox. 48 different field names in that teams table from the layman database. We can click on it, see if the array looks right. It looks very similar to what we saw in the SQL Sandbox. We can do a summary on teams. It does means for different variables here, say ERA, hit by pitch. Let's look at this new command called attach. This is a new function which shortens our work. It says we're going to be working just with the teams data frame for a while. So instead of writing teams $ field name as we use these data, we can shorten that by just saying attach teams, and we'll work just with the teams data frame. And you'll see how I can simplify things. In the teams data frame, I have a field name and a column called hits. Let me scroll down on my console, see where I find hits. Good, here's hits. That is already a field name in the teams data frame. There's also X2B, X3B, and home runs. We see them down here. These are the doubles and the triples and the home runs. Walks, strikeouts, stolen bases, caught stealing, hit by pitch, sacrifice fly, etc. So now, instead of explicitly writing teams $H, which would work just fine, I can shorten it to make it look more like formulas that we used in sabermetrics. So total bases equals hits plus doubles, plus 2 times triples, plus 3 times home runs. Remember, this is because hits includes all hits. Let's run this R statement. Okay, it runs down here. We saw it run on the console. We should have a new variable over here. And we do. TB is now an array from 1 to 1482. It's a number. That's its type. And that array holds the total bases for each team season that we saw in the team's data frame. So this creates a new array of all the total bases for all the teams in the team season's data frame. It doesn't put it in the data frame yet. It's just a variable in R right now. Let's calculate slugging, which is total bases divided by AB. AB comes from the team's data frame. TB is our new variable that we just defined here. So now run this code. Now we have a new variable, a new array that's a set of numbers that represents the team season slugging for each of those teams. Here's on base percentage. Let's run that code, and we're going to calculate on base percentage. Look at our console. It ran successfully. A new variable, which is an array of 1482, which represents on base percentage. That's good. All this is working well. A new variable we may not have seen before is called BRA, batters run average. Instead of adding slugging and on-base percentage together, it multiplies slugging and on-base percentage together. We can run these two functions together. Select them all, run. Okay, both ran successfully. Two new variables that are arrays. Let's do a quick look at OPS. Does it add 0.313, 0.32? Good. These numbers are adding together just like we thought. We could verify that they're multiplying together properly in BRA. I'm sure they are. Another way to look at OPS is to weight on base percentage a little higher than slugging. People have talked about this as the right coefficient on base percentage to get a better correlation with team runs. So we have these three variables, OPS, BRA, and adjusted OPS, that may represent better correlations with team runs. People have proposed this. Now we get to a runs estimator, which is what we're looking at. This is runs created. B I put on here for basic. This is the basic version of runs created that Bill James talks about. Remember what he says. This represents getting on base and not making it out, hits and walks. Total bases, according to Bill James, is a representative of moving runners along. And then, of course, you divide by opportunities. So this is the runs created basic formula. Bill James modified his formula for different eras of the game, and also using more data as data became better recorded. So, but this is the basic version, and we've talked about this version, and it does pretty well as a correlation with team runs. Let's run that code. It ran successfully. Good.